Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
December 27th. Grab your drink and get comfy because this week, Trump rage quit appeasing Putin and pivoted hard, saying Ukraine can win it all back. Putin's paper tiger army, and I'm quoting Trump, is bleeding planes, ships, and pride while buzzing NATO's borders, and NATO is loading their shotguns. Ukraine keeps lighting up Russia's oil refineries like they're at Burning Man. And now Muscovites are waiting in Soviet-era gas lines. Zelensky drops a fire and brimstone speech at the UN, and Europe's patience for Putin's gaslighting, finally hits zero. This is Ukraine Update, where Kremlin narratives go to die and Ukraine's wins get the standing ovation. I'm your co-host, Slavi. Let's throw it over to the host. Dick, how's it going today?
Decent. Very concerned about some news. Very interested to see if there's any meat on this bone that Trump is now chewing on as it pertains to his stance on Ukraine. Lots to dig into. Plus, we've got this mysterious roll call in person of all the heads of the armed forces of the American military. Lots to cover. And I'm sure our Commander McMillan here will have a lot to say on it. How's it going, Commander?
It's going well, and I have a lot of opinions. We don't know what the hell's going on with regards to that thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'd definitely love to hear what you have to say, Commander McMillan. Then we have Johnny with us. Welcome back. How's it going?
Going great. A lot of interesting things are happening. Maybe not the most eventful week, but very important in the way the perceptions are changing, and some of the people opinions are changing, so it appears, at least in their speech. And that makes a shift for something that we would like to see for a long time, but something that might be finally happening. And I'm, of course, referring to Trump saying that Ukraine can win.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It's a huge pivot. Before we get into it, we are live on 3 different channels: on the Shills, on channel Yarochenko, and Johnny's channel Young Ukrainians. So which whichever one you're watching from, smash that like button like it's a Russian tank. Drop by, say hi in the chat. And if you're watching for the first time, welcome. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and join our amazing community. So on that note, let's talk about Trump's dramatic pivot, saying Ukraine can win. Trump declared Ukraine is in a position to fight and win it all of Ukraine back in its original form, rejecting earlier calls for concessions or swaps. He also mocked Russia's army as a paper tiger in economic freefall after 3.5 years of aimless fighting with virtually no gains. He also urged Kyiv to act now, pledged continued weapons via NATO allies, but no new US aid figure yet. So this was a huge pivot. I know he's done a U-turn like this before, but then he met with Putin right after that U-turn. And now we're here. But the question is, are we going to stay here, or is he going to flip back to appeasing Putin and having a romance with him? He seems very upset. He actually said that I think like their relationship was not real. It didn't mean anything. Yeah, that's what he said. It didn't mean anything. So
kind of like his relationship with Epstein. Oh, did I say that? I'm sorry.
Oopsie. But yeah, what do you guys think about this?
I think anything that comes out of the Donald's mouth is not worth the air that is used to make it come out. Honestly, you know, he can change his opinion within the next hour. We don't know. The one concrete thing I think that did come out was the indication that he was going to remove all further restrictions on use of U.S. weaponry that's been given to Ukraine, striking targets deep inside Russia, which I think is long overdue.
It's about fucking time.
That's another way of putting it.
Well, I like to go off of how Zelensky is reacting to it. He was surprised at what Trump had posted on Truth Social, but he called their meeting productive and Trump a potential game changer as well in his Axios interview, and confirmed talks on post-war U.S. guarantees, and they even talked about no-fly zone support. So Zelensky's he's happy.
He's finally hearing something that he wants to hear, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
I hope the orange shit gibbon is actually going to man up and follow through instead of just letting another 5 pounds slip from his belly to his ankles.
Yeah.
What do you guys think shifted his mind? I have my opinions on it, but what do you guys think made him do this pivot?
I hate to do this and keep going back to Epstein, but I think that's applicable here. Part of the reason is that a lot of the speculation is that all of the compromising photographs, audio tapes, video, whatever, that Epstein compiled on his clientele was then given to or sold to either Mossad or the FSB. And if he's afraid that Putin is trying to use that as leverage against him, I can see him in his mind thinking that I can leverage giving more aid, giving more positive reinforcement to Ukraine as a way to keep Putin from releasing that.
Mm.
You know, everything to him is transactional. It's a quid pro quo.
Yeah.
So, you know, if if he's talking to Putin offline, he's saying, you need to give me that stuff and you need to make all of it go away, and I never want to hear about it again. In return, I'll go back to being nice and, you know, supportive of you and less so of Zelensky in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
That's a possibility. I think a distinct one.
Also, to add to that, I think Trump saw the day of light because he saw the real situation in Russia and what a shithole country it is, and how, as he said, it's a paper tiger army. They've made no gains militarily. None of their goals that they set out 3.5 years ago were met.
Mm-hmm.
They've been fighting aimlessly, and he's saying all the right things finally. And I think you saw what a, sorry, it's not even a toilet, it's an outhouse. They don't have plumbing. So
it does make sense. I wonder if there's a chance that any sort of operative for the American side could have done anything to help take away some leverage that they have over them. Do you know what I'm leaning towards here, right? I don't want to, you know what I mean? But I mean, that would really help him, you know, finally grow a pair, right?
It would, but at the same time, I don't see how that could be the case, because a lot of that is very old information. So you'd have to have had whatever American agents were in place to try to get at that.
Yeah.
In place decades ago.
Right.
And I don't think he thinks that far ahead.
Yeah.
You know, at best, he thinks in quarterly profit and loss statements.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's about as far out too, right?
Yeah.
Johnny, what do you think about this?
Mm-hmm.
I mostly agree with Commander Macmillan. There's not a lot of concrete results out of this. The only concrete result is Trump did lift all kinds of restrictions on Ukraine hitting within Russia. But it's at the time when Ukraine has its own capabilities of hitting within Russia, and they acknowledged it. They said, listen, we don't need any more assistance from you guys, even though actually Ukraine does need. Everything helps. You know, Ukraine is scrambling. Like, you have to understand how much bigger Russia is, and everything that we can send to Ukraine, it's still very, very helpful. I think it's a great positive note that Trump at least started speaking the correct things, even though no actions were taken positively. Well, the positive action is, he said, I will sell weapons to NATO for money, which they can then sell to Ukraine. But I mean, NATO is United States. He was always selling
traditionally up until now.
Yeah.
That display at NATO at the UN there shows how much pullback he's got from these organizations right now. I was wow. But sorry, go ahead, Johnny.
He also hates the UN.
Yeah, you know.
I'll just throw in a humorous tone into this, but knowing Trump, it might not be as humorous as we would hope. I think, you know, Trump wanted to be a part of a big boy club of bad boys, of real dictators, real leaders, as he sees it, with hard power. He literally rolled a red carpet for Putin. Showed him all kinds of respect. He, time after time, pleased all kinds of dictators verbally, including Kim Jong-un. He exchanged pleasantries with him. And after the latest visit of Putin to Alaska, what did they have? They had a good, nice summit with a huge parade, which Trump likes, without him. They showed him he's not part of the boys club.
Yeah.
And Trump doesn't like, I mean, he wanted to be part of that club so badly. So now the next bad boy on the block is Zelensky and Ukraine. That Zelensky came with the right message. He said, listen, Russia is burning. We're destroying their economy. We're destroying their army. We're destroying their positions. We're striking them where no nuclear nation has ever been struck. We're being brazen. We're being like everything Trump likes to hear. I think Zelensky finally learned the lessons. Trump doesn't like to listen to a victim. He doesn't like that. That's not somebody you can make a good deals with. So this is the next big boy thing for Trump. That's his way into the big boy club. He sees that opportunity, and that's another way for him to show. Listen, you're not going to be friends with me. I'm friends with Mr. Zelensky over here.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, there's some logic and thought in that. Absolutely.
Zelensky also was kind of souping Trump up, right? Because Zelensky, Ukraine needs pressure, right? Pressure on Russia, pressure on Europe or Hungary not to buy Russian gas. So, and that's the only way that Ukraine can win is with powerful countries like United States, Trump putting pressure not only on Russia, but Zelensky said that Trump should put pressure on China to because China is helping Russia a lot with this war, quite a bit. So Zelensky was like, Trump, if anybody can do it, you can talk to Xi Jinping, it's Trump. India as well, which Trump has already put pressure on them.
Yep.
But I mean, you could see also in Zelensky's kind of way how he was dealing with Trump, and I really liked the shift, and it worked.
Yeah, and another thing that I think should be considered is the fact that in the past couple of weeks, U.S. rhetoric has shifted from talking about the situation in Europe more towards the Pacific, more towards the fact that there's potential of Chinese actually mounting the long rumored invasion of Taiwan. And so I think that's another effort to focus attention there where you get more return on time invested. So the more they talk up, how dangerous the situation in the Pacific is getting, the less time people are going to be able to think about other domestic issues like failing U.S. economy, the tariffs hurting everybody, and the inevitable Epstein thing.
It always comes down to that right now, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, that's part of it, but it's also, if you look at the feedback that's coming out, negative feedback against the administration, the Epstein files have actually sunk in terms of the amount of time and effort that people are putting into arguing that, whereas the failing economy with the looming, debt ceiling thing in Congress and everything, that's taking more and more impact.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he's starting to look at ways to distract people from that. His base is eroding fairly significantly. They're still quasi loyal to him, or at least the cause that he was in charge of originally, but they're also seeing through the toilet paper thin veneer of, I know everything. I'm a successful businessman, and it's proving just the opposite. He's having so much negative impact. Small-time farmers who were one of his big supporters, they're all being forced out because the tariffs mean that they're not being able to sell to overseas markets.
Yep.
It's
almost like it's done on purpose so that
you would think
smaller people, and it all goes to the conglomerates that are buying it up. I mean, it's
even they are having negative impacts to their bottom lines.
Exactly.
He's making everybody pissed at him for his stupid maneuvering.
Yeah,
and he can't take a step back and say, well, maybe the tariffs were an ill-considered thing. Maybe I should change that. Maybe I should offer more incentives to develop businesses here. Maybe I should call off ICE from raiding, sites where I've got 400 technicians from South Korea trying to build a new plant for us. That kind of crap. But he can't retrench. It's just not in his mental situation to say, I made a mistake. So he has to double down on, yeah, this is really successful, even though you're all losing money, you're losing jobs. Who cares,
Yeah. Craziness. It's just bombarding us. Like it's so overwhelming. A couple of shout outs here I'd like to get in before we get a little bit too far along. We've got Petra Olsen in with 269 Swedish kroners there with love to Ukraine, and right into the fund pile it'll go. Thank you so much, Petra. We've got Niles. Stupid button failed me again. We got Niles Knudsen in the chat gifting out memberships, 10 of them too. Love it, Niles. Thank you so much. Members is a big deal around here. Yvonne Way, queen of the super sticker here, comes in with a cute one, and it's the little fox guy going, bravo, bravo. He's a very happy little fox. Thank you, Yvonne Way. Very cool. And we've got Crazy Cat in the chat as well, chucking in a super chat. Someone gave Taco some Ukrainian brain cell meds. Yeah, it's looking like it, man. That's a good shout. Good shout for sure. Thanks, everybody. Big thanks. And remember, we got our Car for Ukraine fundraiser going on as well. And I bet somebody will drop the link into the live chat ASAP. Anything to do on your channel there, Slavi? Any shout outs?
I don't think so. Not yet. Let me check. I've been trying
Papa
to.
Dutch, you're slacking.
I've been trying to go with the questions, kind of order them in the right way, because there's quite a few coming in on different topics. But before we get into those topics, I just want to go over Zelensky's UN speech, which was next level. It was so chilling and great and what he did. But so he warned in his speech, he warned of the most destructive arms race in human history if Putin isn't stopped. He also highlighted 40% rise in Russian drone civilian casualties. He kept calling the UN Security Council too weak over and over again, and demanded enforcement power from UN. He also framed deep Crimea strikes as defensive preemption, not escalation. He urged weapons, sanctions, and energy aid for Moldova, which we're going to talk about Moldova in a second. But overall, it was very powerful speech. I will be showing it all in a video that's coming out tomorrow, and we'll watch it together. And it's a reaction video, and I'm going to be showing it in full. So make sure you tune in tomorrow for that. But yeah, have you guys seen Zelensky's UN speech?
I read the bullet points of it. I was really impressed. It was everything you'd like to hear and very to the point.
Yeah, I have to agree. Also, at the same time, we had Olyana Zelenska, Ukraine's first lady, meeting with Melania Trump, and they were meeting on the abducted Ukrainian children, the Russia abducted. Hopefully, there's some action that comes from that, because I think it's a very small amount that Ukraine got back of the kids, and what Russia is doing with those kids is horrendous. They're putting them online on an online catalog for adoption. I mean, they're not treating them like children, like humans, and taking away their identity. I think if they're over 15, they're sent to the front line to fight against their own country. Yeah, and I mean, Russians too, even if these Ukrainian kids get adopted into a Russian family. There have been some horrendous footage of these Russians beating the kids, just not treating them at all. Like, forget about a childhood should be. They're not treating these kids like human. So
no.
Yeah.
No, there's times when livestock are treated better. This is an atrocious crime against humanity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No.
And this is what ICC wants Putin for, is for this exact war crime.
Yeah, and it totally locks in with a thing that Operator Starsky and a few others have said on this channel multiple times, where most Russians, a lot of people will say, yeah, okay, you hate the military and the government and those that sign up to fight, but there's a lot of people just sitting at home that don't want this war. I'm talking about Russians, but it's not truly as true as you would think compared to like the protests in America versus Vietnam and stuff. In Russia, they truly see themselves as better, and this is not really a problem. There's nothing wrong with their behavior.
It also ties into the fact that it's a strange word to use in this case, so bear with me, but they legitimately believe that Ukraine is not an independent state, cultural entity, whatever you want. It's part of Russia, and that they need to be rejoined to the motherland. And when I say legitimately, I don't mean that in the real sense. I mean, in their minds, it's legitimately that. So they're eating the propaganda that's put out by the Russian media, the Russian state, and they fully subscribe to it.
Mm-hmm.
Entertaining a notion that goes against that is completely outside their norms.
Exactly. Yeah.
Should we go into a couple of questions before we go on with the news?
Probably a good idea, because as I can see, if we don't get some of them in now, they're too behind the conversation, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We have a question from Brad Poley to Commander McMillan. I'd like to hear your take on the Hegseth meeting with the generals. Kind of got me spooked.
Oh, right now, all we have is speculation about what this is. We don't know why he's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
We know that most people in the military are looking at it with some degree of alarm, regardless of which side of the political fence their allegiances lie. Simply the fact that they're calling all the senior most personnel in the entire U.S. Department of Defense to a single location and telling everybody where that location is, from a security standpoint, is one of the dumbest moves you could possibly pull.
Would you expect anything else from Hegseth, though?
Oh, I know, but put it on this level. Not only are the principals, let's say, commander of the Pacific region, going to this meeting, his deputy and all the service deputies, so Air Force Pacific, Navy Pacific, Army Pacific, all of those, everybody's going.
Yeah.
So the senior most person sitting in a chair where decisions are going to be made if something occurs in their absence is going to be a colonel. If that doesn't alarm people, I don't know what does. It's insanity. It really is. So setting that aside for a moment, why are they doing this? Well, when the media started going, hey, what the hell? Hegseth's comment was that, well, I'm calling them so we can have a frank discussion about the warrior ethos in the U.S. military. That's like, we're having
Does he think he's Genghis fucking Khan?
Yeah, it's like saying, the Pope calling all bishops and above to Rome because we're going to have a discussion about Jesus. It makes no sense. It's dribble. So the real thing is, why are they being called? So a number of thoughts have popped into people's minds, and I'm going to set them out here, not in any particular order, not in any particular, I think this one's more likely than that. I'm just going to say, here are some of the things I've heard people potentially say.
Too bad we don't have a stupid YouTuber top 10 stinger.
Yeah, exactly. But the one that I think alarms most people is that they're being called together to sign or swear to a personal oath of loyalty, not to defend the Constitution of the United States, but to defend the glorious Orange God King. And this is something that was done in Nazi Germany, where all the generals in the German Reichswehr at the time, before it became the Wehrmacht, they were all called in and they had to swear personal oaths of loyalty to Hitler. Now, here's something interesting. Retired General Ben Hodges made this comment in an email, an open email to everybody, but specifically directed it at Hegseth. And Hegseth responded with, "That's a cool story, General."
What?
Yeah. I mean,
it's not a fucking frat party.
Right. You'd think that if that wasn't what was going on, he'd have said, "Oh, no, we're not doing anything like that. This is something completely different. We're not trying to," but he didn't. It was like, cool story, like swearing an oath to Hitler is a cool thing. We should all do something like that.
Yeah.
So right there is, the little alarm bells are starting to go off like, hey, something weird going on here. Paired into that is the fact we're coming up on the edge of, yet another government shutdown because Congress can't pull its act together and pass a budget. And the orange one has already said that his plan is, if that happens, they're not going to, as they have in the past, furlough federal workers, where they say, yeah, these are just days, unpaid days off, go home. They're going to fire them all.
Mm-hmm.
Which opens the door to saying, hi, you're a MAGA, you can have a job. I don't care that you're not qualified for it. I don't care that, this is a senior GS-15 or SDS 1 or 2 level job. No. The fact that you were the assistant manager at an auto supply store, you're qualified to run this department of the US government because you're loyal to me.
That's some scary ass shit.
Right. And similarly, if that happens, well, you need people to be workers. So we've got millions of guys in the US military. Let's assign them to do all those federal jobs. We don't need them to be ready to fight wars or respond to crises. That's not important in our line of thinking. Those are never going to happen. So let's have them, take care of normal federal bureaucratic functions. That's one thought. Another thought is to use the leverage of, well, we're shutting down the government and we're firing all these people. In the case of all you senior military personnel, what we're thinking is that either you sign this non-disclosure agreement, excuse me, cough in my chest there, this non-disclosure agreement, or we're going to fire you.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say non-disclosure agreement, and I laugh about it, is because a personal oath of loyalty to the president probably won't hold up in a court of law. But virtually every moderate-sized corporation across the country has employees sign non-disclosure agreements. No court is ever going to say, well, you can't have people in the military do that. That's just wrong, because they'll say, well, then all of these civil non-disclosure agreements are no longer valid, and they can't risk doing that.
Right.
So that's a good way of saying, well, either sign the non-disclosure agreement that effectively is an oath of loyalty, or you're fired. And we'll find good, loyal MAGAs in the military that we can rapidly promote up the chain to fill those slots.
Yep.
Another possibility that's worth discussing is the fact that we know he's really eager to send active duty troops into various U.S. cities to enforce the law. Effectively, if you read his most recent little text on the topic, he being the orange one, has effectively declared war on the city of Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have a copy of that.
I have it up right now. Yeah.
Yeah. That says everything you need to know.
Yeah.
I mean, look at it.
Yeah. It's
provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland.
Yep. Under siege, but from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that may be another part of why we're calling all these guys in, is to tell them point blank, your focus now is going to be turning less and less from foreign or potential foreign enemies and more towards our domestic opponents. The administration's domestic opponents.
That's right.
And to get them on board with that and basically say, either you agree or you're gone. You'll notice there's a common thread in many of these speculations, and it's always
kiss the ring.
Either you agree or you're gone.
Yeah.
Because it makes no sense to call these people in unless that's kind of what you're trying to do. And
I can only imagine the thoughts that are going to be going through most of these people's heads as they stand there and listening to him give some kind of opening remarks to the room. They're all going to be standing there going, after the career I've led and where it's got me, I got to listen to this piece of trash.
So, I don't know what it's going to be. We'll find out Monday, because I guarantee you there'll be leaks after the meeting on Monday about what was said.
Yeah.
Given the amount of speculation and pushback they're getting in the press, it may end up being some useless, empty-worded, warrior ethos speech that means nothing, because they're afraid to actually take the steps that they were planning to take, as they've been kind of called out about it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's that, but knowing the way these guys are about not backing down from principles, I don't see that that's likely to happen.
Heavy quotes on principles in his usage right there. Heavy quotes. Let's just make that clear. All right. That was a big one, but what are you going to do, right? Some questions deserve big answers.
I have a question for Commander as well.
I haven't.
What was that, Johnny?
Johnny, I talked over you.
No, I have a question for you as well, because I have no way of knowing this, and maybe we can bring it back to Ukraine and Russia at the same time. You notice, you mentioned the oath that American soldiers have to take. Of course, every soldier has to take an oath, and there's a big difference in the way Russian soldiers, when they take the oath to the great Russian state, the great Russian state, or like state, I think is the best word. And Ukrainian soldiers, they take an oath to Ukrainian people, to people living within Ukraine. I was wondering, what is the emphasis of the oath of American soldiers?
I'm going from memory. It's way back, but essentially, it's I swear I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and take orders from all officers appointed over me, and bear true faith and allegiance to the same. I'm sure I've gotten it out of order, and those aren't the exact words, but effectively that's what it is. So U.S. service personnel are swearing to defend the concept of what the United States is, which is the Constitution, the founding document that established the nation. That's different than swearing to protect the people of the United States. And I think it's understandable why that is because who we count as the people of the United States differs fairly radically among different groups. You know, if you go back to the 1860s, would that oath have included the slaves in the South? Probably not. So, you know, that I think is one of the main reasons that we don't swear to the people of the nation. We swear to the document, which is what constitutes effectively what the real United States is.
Commander, does that give any wiggle room for military personnel to then say, I'm sorry, but that order is against the Constitution and I've sworn to uphold and protect it?
Absolutely. And there have been cases where that has happened, where people say, you're ordering me to do something which is not in keeping with my oath. I refuse to follow that order. In some cases, the people who have taken that step have been exonerated and said, yeah, you're right. You were getting illegal orders. You were within your rights properly to refuse to follow those illegal orders. For the most part, no, that's not what happens. For the most part, it's going to that other part of the oath, which is obedience to the officers appointed over you. But the point is, the first part of your oath is the Constitution. That is where your ultimate loyalty lies.
Right.
How interesting.
Yes.
And that underlines the differences in different states, different countries, and mentalities of the people on the battlefield as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, with Ukraine and probably most of the countries, I'm guessing in Europe, their military oaths are similar, which is to the people of the nation or to the nation itself. In large part, at least if you go back to when those oaths were first instituted, it's because you had a fairly unified population base. You know, you were all Frenchmen, or you were all Germans, or you were all Dutch, or what have you. The U.S. doesn't have that. We're a nation of immigrants. Everybody here, with the exception of the Native American population, you know, First Nations types, are not native per se. And to show you the idiocy of that, even to this day, extreme right-wingers will tell you that the Native Americans are not native population to this country. Only they are. And you say, well, when did your families come over? Oh, my family came over in the 1800s. Dude, your head, your ass, disconnect them.
Short circuit right there.
Oh, yeah.
I always loved Reagan's quote that you can't move to Italy and become Italian. You can't move to Mexico and become Mexican, but you can come to America and become American.
Yeah. Canada is the exact same thing, right? Exact same thing.
A frightening proportion of the population does not agree with that sentiment. That's one of the fundamental problems that we're confronting right now.
And Reagan was a great Republican.
Reaganomics sucked, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying I like Reagan or the stuff he did, but Reagan today would be sick to his stomach to see what his party has become.
Oh, yeah. He would be a furious man to know that there's many Republicans, card-carrying Republicans out there that did not vote for Donald Trump this time.
That's what I like to think. I kind of, MAGA and Republicans are two different, to me at least. And I think of Republicans like
absolute opposite directions.
Yeah, like Reagan Republicans, that's what I think of them. Like but MAGA is not Republican, so it's a whole different breed.
Yeah. Kellen Dunn in the or who is it? Kristen McCall in the chat there. MAGA would call Reagan a total libtard. They pretty much would, man. Yeah. You know, they would be furious about him making friends with Gorbachev and whatnot and so on. And, you know, the way Reagan about halfway through, instead of just constant, rhetoric about them being the enemy, started actually being more friendly and open to discussion and stuff. MAGA would have flipped the hell out, but it was the right thing to do.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But trickle-down economics is still a stupid idea. I'm just not letting that go.
He just pointed something out that I think is interesting. Hegseth has excluded the JAGs from the meeting.
Oh, Judge Advocate General, right?
Correct. The lawyers.
Yeah, wow.
Being allowed into the meeting.
Okay, interesting.
The other thing that's interesting that nobody seems to want to comment on, because it's so strange, the people who were called back were not just the flag officers, it was also their senior enlisted representatives.
So explain that a bit more for somebody who...
Okay. So every military command will have the officer who's in charge, and he'll have a deputy. In the case of the people we're talking about, often the 3-star has a 1-star deputy. But then off to the side is what's called a senior enlisted advisor. So he's of the senior-most rank, so, master sergeants and command master chiefs in the Navy, that kind of thing. Really very senior enlisted who've already, in almost every case, seen 20 plus years of service.
Right.
And their job is to act as kind of the interface between the enlisted personnel and the boss. Because what the boss gets from his other officers is, by the time it reaches him, because of the multiple layers it's going through, it's pretty much an exclusively officer viewpoint. That's what the purpose of this senior enlisted advisor is to be able to, without that filter, relay to the boss what the enlisted personnel are thinking.
Right.
And at the same time, to translate down from the boss to the enlisted personnel, here's what the boss wants from you and why he wants it this way. So the fact that these guys, in addition to the flag officers, are being summoned to this meeting is really interesting. It's like, why are they required to be there? And at the same time, why are the lawyers being excluded from the meeting?
That's an interesting conundrum, the two put together. That's I got to jump in with a shout out here. We got Jamie McCadden in the chat, $25 direct donation into the I'll put it into the Car for Ukraine fund. Good to see you all, and Slavy looks great too. Slava Ukraine. Oh, great shout, Jamie. Thank you very much indeed.
Say Slavy looks great or Slava?
Yeah, no, I was directed to you.
Okay, I don't want to be like, oh, me? Thank you.
Yes, that was definitely what it was. And I think, that's, do I have to, wait a second here. There was a thing that got crazy on me. Yeah. Okay. I'm caught up. We're good. We wanted to get to a few more questions that are Ukraine geared. I do believe were getting requested in the chat. So let's do our little script.
Next one is not exactly Ukraine. It's about Moldova, but it's important that we talk about it. Moldova elections are happening actually tomorrow, very soon on European time. And Russia has their teeth into Moldova, let's put it that way. Two political parties have already been banned. I mean, it's complete chaos with Russia doing so they're pulling out all stops, AI propaganda, vote suppression tactics. They're also financing a lot of groups, parties, oligarchs, just everyone they can get their teeth on in politics. And it's important for Ukraine because if Russia takes over Ukraine's neighbor, like it did with Georgia as well, and then Ukraine's victory
put this
means
in context so the Americans who don't know how to read a map, it's on the other side of where the Russians are. So it's putting Ukraine in a vice.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Well, we got to make sure. But yeah, Ukraine's victory will mean nothing if its neighbors fall back into Russia's grip. So Moldova is in a situation that the people have to fight with whatever they have to go towards EU and more Western future, or one that's facing Mordor, unfortunately, and it's a tough situation. And also, it will mean that it means that EU and Ukraine's aid as well, everything that all the efforts that we've been helping with the fight with Russia would have been for nothing if Kremlin is able to take over Moldova. So that's why this election is so important for Ukraine.
If America had proper, strong leadership, they would be helping with a counter influence, and it would be right. It's just such a tragedy that the Orange God King is useless.
Yeah. Also, Zelensky brought up Moldova, this exact situation, and he said that the world must not turn away and help. Because if Russia is able to take over, that's a huge victory for Russia. It opens another flank, basically, surrounding Ukraine, and that's their empire. They're going to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. 100% agreed.
Johnny, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I heard that Zelensky mentioned that in his great speech, kind of like a warning to European nations. And it's exactly what's happening. I don't think United States is going to do anything about it because Trump was kind of the beneficiary of all those tactics that Russia is using right now in Moldova. They used all those tactics in 2016, in 2020, in 2024 in United States, maybe to the lesser extent because Russia is a little farther. But all those things were kind of already tried. I also want to express some optimism because right now the Moldova president is very pro-European, pro-Western values, pro-Ukrainian, and it's good to have that voice in European Union. And she says amazing things on Ukraine, and she's such an ally. Of course, Russia doesn't want that. But keep in mind that before her, Russia again influenced the elections in Moldova, and they did have a pro-Russian guy there, which was just a puppet of Russia, and it did not really help Russia. You know, So that's like my sense of optimism in this case, because Russians, when they elect you, when they feel like they helped you elect, they they treat you like a puppet, like a dog that you have to do, and nothing you do is ever enough. And they were basically disrespecting that guy, and eventually they ruined the relationship with that person that they helped elected, and the pro European, pro Western person was elected in the next cycle. So even if Russians do succeed this time, it's going to backfire on them bigly, and eventually it's going to be one more nail in the coffin of Russian failures.
There was a wonderful documentary I watched maybe a couple of days ago, and it was done by BBC. And a BBC journalist goes undercover in Moldova to work for an organization that's they pay these people, anyone, like $150 a month to spread disinformation, and every day they get a couple of tasks that they need to do, what messages they need to spread, where to post. Like there's a lot of TikTok stuff going on, where to post, how many posts a day that they need to make. And there's a lot of these people who are taking the money and doing it. And it was done by BBC. If you guys can find it, I highly recommend to watch it, because it's classic what Russia and how Russia does these disinformation campaigns.
Yeah.
And yeah, Europe's credibility is totally on the line with this. And if EU can't protect Moldova right now, especially right now in wartime, from this election sabotage, it signals weakness everywhere in EU.
And, Putler's doing all the pushing and testing reactions and all that stuff. It's, there's reports coming in. I just seen this in the live chat about serious concerns with Zaporizhzhia, the nuclear power plant, not having the electrical it needs to keep the cooling operational. Like the place has been basically just in keep it cool so it doesn't go bad mode, right? And yeah, I just had it up here right now. They're saying it's off the grid, and from what I'm reading, they might be meaning that there's no power getting to it to do the necessary cooling, and this could be a very bad situation. Wow.
Bad. Zelensky also brought this up, and that's what he was talking about. One bad move by Russia.
Yeah.
May I ask, Mr. D, which article was that from that you just brought up? Just curious.
If it's a France 24 article. Oh, sorry, the one I found. It's only like 30 minutes printed ago.
Oh, okay. You see how is my disagreement with some of these news is you are a journalist and you're supposed to be like play the both sidism, and they say Russia, Ukraine trade blame, right? That's like a journalistic approach to all this. But do you really think that Ukraine is trying to blow up their own nuclear station and cause just unimaginable chaos and global catastrophe on their own soil? I think these journalists, they need to do a little better in how they report the news.
A lot better. That's a fantastic
Chernobyl has faded from popular minds. So, what's another nuclear catastrophe in Ukraine? Nothing, obviously.
Yeah.
They trade blame, but Russia has control of the Zaporizhzhia power plant.
Yeah. And they have generators and they have fuel, and there's no excuses. I'm sorry. I'm just, there's no way anybody's going to tell me that there's fault anywhere except for within themselves. And I just hope that they don't create another no-go zone or something. Nobody needs that.
Mr. D, where is your journalistic integrity? You know, I just cannot know who to blame at this point. It's like we don't have all the facts. We don't know everything.
Yeah, no, true enough. But that's absolutely true. But if I had to guess, I would guess if there's truly an issue, it's orc side.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. Shoot, I was gonna say something and I totally forgot.
We have quite a few things to get through in terms of Ukrainian battlefield victories. Russia had a lot of major losses, other than refineries.
Yeah,
Ukraine,
they've had some big campfires over there lately.
yeah, huge bavovnas, as I like to call them. September 21st, the Gore Ghosts destroyed 2 B-12 Chaika ASW aircraft, Mi-8 helicopters. I mean, there's so much. I don't know if you guys, if I won't want me.
Yeah,
to
let's shoot them up. That's great news.
Yeah.
Another one.
Let's enjoy it. Yeah, let's savor this. Let's have a good moment right here.
All right.
Yeah, I'll hit the fireworks.
Hor primary hits another 2 B-12 same day, wiping out rare Crimean fleet assets. On September 24th, 2 N-26 transports and radar stations destroyed at Kacha airfield. September 25th, Su-34 fighter bomber shot down over Zaporizhzhia. That was beautiful. Also, we got naval strikes going back to September 21st. Military tugboat in Sevastopol Bay damaged by a sea drone. There's another major drone assault on Novorossiysk, damaged. This is a 60 million support vessel, and it was forced into the dry dock. Now there is ground advances as well. September 23rd, Ukrainian troops encircled Russian regiments near Borova. In Donetsk, neutralized breakthrough near Novopavlivka and Dobroblilia. Trapped forces along Kazany-Tarets River. And Western Zaporizhzhia disrupted Russian logistics there as well. 120 Russian drones shot down overnight between September 23rd and 24th. Total Russian losses since January is, are you guys ready? 210,000 troops and thousands of vehicles as well.
I'm gonna cry.
And Zelensky and Syrskyi declared Russia's 2025 offensives officially failed.
I like those words.
For me, one of the main judges of how well the week has gone is I read the International Institute for Study of Warfare's summary, and you look at how many, because they go down the front from north all the way to south in various sectors and say, whether the Russians are advancing or losing ground or whatever. This past week, they only advanced in a single sector. That tells you how bad things are getting for them. In some places, they're not even trying to advance anymore. They're just sitting there.
There was also, Commander Johnny, there was also an encirclement of like 1,000 orcs.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
Several.
If you guys can talk about that, because I don't know much about it.
The foundation for it started last week. We mentioned it in the show last week. And I think they finally reduced those pockets and got the people in them to surrender. And yeah, I think one of them, over 1,000 Russian troops surrendered in that one pocket, which is a
Truth.
significant accomplishment. That wasn't the only one. There were others that were smaller that also went down. I think you probably, by the time it's all over, get into the vicinity of like 2,500 Russian prisoners taken.
Good numbers.
Absolutely.
It's really significant, and it kind of shows the Ukrainian strategy that is really sound. It's viable. It's working. It's something that Ukraine has been saying for a very long time. There were a lot of critics because it's easy to criticize a much smaller country that's fighting the notorious biggest or second biggest, whatever, country in the world that's being helped by China, that's being helped by North Korea. The biggest army in the world is North Korea with boots on the ground. And
mostly
we can
useless
see that,
boots, but numbers are numbers, right?
I mean, if that pair of useless boots is running at you with a rusty AK, you know, it's almost as good as if those boots were useful. You know, you still have to do something. And a lot of those criticisms are being shut down right now as Ukraine is making these great accomplishments. And I just want to throw out like a quirky fact out there. When Ukraine started this war with Russia, we had this great commander, Zaluzhny, that broke the initial assault of Ukraine that Russia mounted. And he basically broke the back of that Russian army at the time. And he was sent off. He's a diplomat in Great Britain and a great voice to have in Great Britain, I think. And in charge of Ukrainian troops is a Russian-born Commander Syrsky. And he's implementing this much bigger strategy of breaking Russian back, not just tactically on the battlefield, but strategically in the whole war effort.
Yeah, they're really hitting things that are going to give long-term gain. Right? There's some real deep long-term strategic break them stuff going on that I'm just loving, right?
Well, I think it's worth noting that, remember I said earlier, Russians are not listed as advancing in almost every sector, and some they're not even trying to. I think in large part, that's because the logistic train has been broken, and they can only get a limited number of supplies to the front, so they're doing it in one or two sectors where they're focusing all their effort because they know they can't support a general broad front advance.
Yeah.
So it reminds me of a David and Goliath story.
Very much.
When you're smaller, when you move smarter, you move faster. And Russia is huge. They do have shitload of manpower, but their size is a disadvantage at this point. And Ukraine is taking
I still think the best phrase that came out of all of this was, before the war, Russia was viewed as the second most powerful army in the world. Since the war started, they're now viewed as the second most powerful army in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And once the Ukraine entered Russia, they're the second most powerful country, army in Russia.
Well said. Well said.
Well, maybe the third after the Koreans.
We don't want to give Kim Jong-il too much credit here.
It's nitpicking, you know.
Well, also, despite Russia's fails, Russia keeps doing sabotage attacks against NATO's airspace. And I know we talked quite a bit about Poland, Estonia as well. Now they're doing it in the Nordics. And it's every day, it's something different. Every day, two jets there. Actually, there's another two jets that were over Alaska a couple of days ago. So Russia is trying to find NATO's weak point right now, and they're going to keep doing this. I know Finland is very much prepared. Finland has been warning everyone of this. They're ready to jump in. Poland as well. But
Well, yesterday, I think it was a total of 5 Russian aircraft tried to, I won't say tried, but were near NATO airspace up in the Baltic region. And in each case, they were intercepted and escorted by NATO aircraft. My favorite, though, is Hungarian aircraft intercepting the Russians. And we know Orban is the greatest friend of NATO and probably has a lot of close friendships, ties with Putin and Russia. The fact that the Hungarians are conducting these intercepts is really interesting. It shows, I think, what they value more, their NATO membership, than any happy handshakes they're doing with the Russians.
Yeah, it's push comes to shove time, right?
They're doing it both ways. I was reading the news, and then on one article you read about Hungarian Gripens. I'm like, huh, what? With NATO. And then there is Hungarian drones over Western Ukraine, doing also reconnaissance stuff, and probably mapping out some area that they would like to snatch off Ukraine. So Hungary is wild right now.
Yeah,
they're playing both sides.
Let's be honest, all the borders in that area of Eastern Europe still have a lot of areas that have not been completely settled, and they have border claims against one another. And that goes back well into the 1920s, when, after the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, all these new nations popped up, and everybody was disputing that, the border should be 2 miles that direction. No, it should be 3 miles that direction. And those still have not been sorted out.
Mm-hmm.
It was complicated by the fact that in the late 30s, the Germans were forcing all these Eastern European client states of theirs to sign agreements giving each other portions of territory that nobody agreed upon.
Mm-hmm.
We have a question.
That's where a lot of the borders still sit, is on those Nazi-imposed borders.
Yeah.
Commander McMillan, there's a question for you from It Wasn't Me, asking, I know the US talks a lot about shifting from Europe to the Pacific, but are there any actual signs of them strengthening their presence in the Pacific?
There have been some moves of forces that are already committed to the Pacific theater within that theater. So, for example, a battalion or a brigade that might be stationed in Hawaii being moved to Okinawa or into Korea, or vice versa, being moved from Korea or Okinawa back to Hawaii or something. I haven't seen anything that suggests new and additional forces are being sent in, but I would be very surprised if there were not contingency plans that have already been come up with for moving significant assets in that direction. Because right now, if you look at all the rhetoric that's coming out of the military hierarchy in DC, the primary focus of threat is on the China-Taiwan issue. Hello?
Oh, okay. I thought it was me. I didn't see that Dick was gone.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know of any specific forces that have been moved around, but it's it's easy to do that. Our assets can be moved within, a week from Conus to Hawaii or Guam or what have you, and need be 2.5 weeks to get everything to, say, Korea or Japan or what have, from those forward positions in Guam or Hawaii.
Are the forces mostly moved by aircraft carriers that we have there?
No. Aircraft carriers don't move forces. They carry forces with them. So there will be an air wing assigned to a carrier, and that air wing will stay with that carrier throughout its deployment. They may attach additional smaller assets to that carrier for specific missions, but generally air wing is integral to that carrier for the duration of its deployment. If you're moving forces, there are 2, 3, depending on how you want to count it, ways that we do that. Number one is to simply put them in airplanes and fly them there. That's fast, but it's very expensive. It also means that you don't have a lot of heavy assets because, yeah, we do have planes that you can put a tank in and fly it around, but that's not an economical way to do it. It severely stresses the cargo aircraft to the point where you won't be able to use it again after you do that once or twice. So you got to be careful about it, but you can do it. So typically the heavy assets, tanks, armored personnel carriers, trucks, that kind of stuff, those are moved by cargo ships. And we have a fairly large fleet of reserve ships. They're not Navy ships, they are naval ships. And I don't want to bore you with the differences, just say that they have civilian crews, not Navy crews, but they're owned by the Navy. It's confusing.
And we don't really need to protect them because it's like the peaceful times. So we don't need
they'll
to
just
send the
stick them in there and
aircraft
say go, and they'll go. Unless you start getting into a situation where, war is increasingly looking like it's likely to occur, then they may escort them, they may form them into convoys, what have you. But typically those cargo ships will just sail individually. They'll get to a port, offload their cargo, and that's how typically one ship can carry a brigade's worth of equipment aboard it. And we have, I don't know, last count that I saw was almost 40 of these kind of cargo ships. And it takes a day, 2 days max to completely offload one of them. Wow. Assuming you have pier space.
I know, John, you wanted to talk about this, but NATO's eastern flank or eastern sentry, you're also talking about NATO's drone wall. If you guys want to talk about that.
The drone wall came out of the Article 4 conference that Poland initiated after their airspace was violated by roughly 15 to 20 Russian drones. The idea was to put in place NATO air defense assets along the border with Russia/Belarus to be able to defend against intrusion by drones. It was specific to drones. It didn't include aircraft trying to come in because you need different assets for that. They acknowledged that it would take upwards of a year before they could have anything in place to make that wall a reality, although they are moving some assets now as we speak to defend critical locations. So major cities, airfields, ports, that kind of thing. But the idea is eventually to have a barrier of air defenses along the borders to be able to prevent intrusion by those things.
Would both drone wall and closing Ukraine's skies be probably more effective, but does one thing beat out the other?
Yeah, they don't have anything to do with each other is the best way I can put it. having a no-fly zone or something like that over Ukrainian airspace that was imposed by NATO aircraft would certainly simplify that portion of the border in terms of putting this drone wall up. But, you know, I don't think that's where the majority of the leakage is coming from. I think it's coming through Belarus or down from Kaliningrad.
Absolutely.
East Prussia.
Johnny, did you want to say anything?
It's kind of hard to follow Commander Macmillan because he kind of verbatim repeated my notes here.
I'm sorry, I'll act stupider so you can say things.
Please, you know, can you get down to our level? No, but you know, it is good
huge.
that this.
The biggest air defenses in the world.
It is good that this is still happening, even though it might actually be solidified within a year. But this is a necessary step to counter the common threats that are facing us right now, today. It's better to start today than to start a year from now. You know, it is a good move. It's going to show Russia that, you know, we're not going to wait for them to keep escalating. You know, it's how we say Russia is probing to find the weak spot, and it looks like they're gonna the soft spot, and they're gonna find the hard spot.
Yeah.
I did watch a lot of interviews from this past week with Zelensky. And I think this one was the one on Axios, and he was asked, what do you think about NATO's response to Russia's incursions into NATO airspace? And he said it's weak. It's not good enough. It's not fast enough, and Russia's gonna keep going.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I
think it's interesting, though, that both the Estonians and the Poles have said that at this point, they're no longer going to peacefully intercept anything that crosses their airspace. They will engage.
Yeah. That language is, yeah.
And somebody was pointing out in the chat stream here, you have to understand the military definition of intercept simply means I put an aircraft near you so I can watch what you're doing and, you know, flip you the bird and say, go home. It doesn't mean I'm shooting at you. Engage, on the other hand, means just that. It means I've got ordnance in the air. You're about to go bye-bye.
Yeah. Yeah. I personally would love to see that be the case. Get a few shot down and then see what Orc Master's response will be.
yeah, Russia is, of course, hating this idea.
I'm going to beat it even louder than I have before.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And we have a precedent on this because in 2015, Turkey shot down a Russian plane in Turkish airspace, and Russia made a lot of noise, but it took like a couple visits from Turkey back and forth, some deals with tomatoes, Turkish tomatoes, I've heard.
Yeah.
And everybody just forgot and moved on. So I think this is a good language to hear from our NATO allies.
Russians have a long history with the Turks and know that it's probably best not to mess with them.
Yeah.
Very true. Unfortunately, Erdogan at the UN General Assembly, he did say that unfortunately he thinks this war will drag on for a long time. And
I do too.
yeah, he also said that Trump must put the pressure on. We're all looking at Trump to do it now. So
yeah.
Well, I hesitate to say this because I know it's a very touchy subject, but for a ceasefire, armistice peace agreement to come into effect, both sides must make compromises to their positions. And that's the problem right now, is that neither side seems willing to compromise on their positions. So I would be interested to hear from the other two panel members here what they think would be something that Ukraine might be willing to compromise on in order to see peace.
Good question.
Now, I'm not going to say my opinion, because my opinion at this point in the conflict is that no, don't compromise. You're ahead of the game right now. It's costly, but you are ahead of the game. But I think it's something that Ukraine, Zelensky need to start considering, is what are they willing to compromise on in order to stop the hostilities.
Johnny, you want to go first?
Yeah. Like I said,
Certainly.
I know it's a touchy topic.
Couple things to say on this. By attacking Ukraine, Russia has violated 411 different international agreements that it has signed as a state. So floating this idea of signing a document number 412 on some magic paper that's gonna be a do-all, end-all, that we can wave. Look, another piece of paper that is very nice. That's a good idea, and possibly, people like to talk about all this stuff. But the only one who is not talking about anything like that as an option is Russia. We don't have that option of a peace, of a concession, of a compromise. It's not on the table. There is no table. If it is a table, it's being proposed like a Hungary, Orban, or Trump, or anybody else besides Russia. There is no Russia at this table. Ukraine doesn't have this table because they realize that Russia is not there. It doesn't exist. We're discussing an opportunity that's only existing in the minds of people not involved in this conflict at all. And if they are getting involved, they're doing the things that are hurting Ukraine, if anything. We were just discussing that somebody, I was listening loosely, sorry, but somebody was discussing that this is going to be a long war. It's true. And Ukraine has been saying it from day one. And it's just recently that Ukraine has proven that they can fight and win the war of attrition with Russia, which before was a nonsense statement. So right now, the long war should scare Russia more than it scares Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
If we are resolved to win, to fight, to win this war, to get it to the conclusive end where it's going to be a sustainable peace with peace guarantees, we should not even ask Russia what they think, because every time when you ask Russia what they think, they view it as an opportunity to prolong whatever they're doing. It's not putting any kind of end, and there are no peace talks. If you're talking peace talks with Russia, remember, you're talking in silence and you're alone.
That was a great answer, Johnny. I knew that was going to be your answer, and I'd have to say ditto on that. Russia doesn't want territory, otherwise we'd be having these talks with Russia. They don't want concessions. They want all of Ukraine. So it's pointless to even talk about swaps or anything to give up Russia. They're going to keep going and going and going. If some kind of concessions would actually help, but in this case, they wouldn't. Russia is Russia. They have an imperial sickness. And it will not stop unless it is stopped. And that is the only way.
Yeah. If Putin signs any piece of paper saying he'll be a good boy for a bit, he'll use it as toilet paper and just go back to being him as fast as he can.
Yeah,
Yep.
Neville Chamberlain taught us all what waving a piece of paper does.
Yeah.
And Putin is going to carry that piece of paper very close to his briefcase. If you know Putin's briefcase,
Yeah, the poop sack.
the Pope sack, which, that's where it goes eventually.
Yeah. Let me see here. We've got about 15, 20 minutes, it looks like here. So we can dive into a few questions if you want, Slavi, or what do you think we should do here?
Yes, we can do questions once I have them.
Squeeze a few more in before we call it
I do
orange
have
juice.
one piece of news, if we have time for it.
Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I don't even have notes for it because I just it did happen like a day or two ago, but if you guys follow the news, Russia has been struggling with their civil aviation. Aeroflot has been bleeding. They don't have a way to buy some more airplanes, and they don't have, because of the sanctions, they cannot buy replacement equipment, like the parts to fix them as well. The airplanes are aging, and it's a big problem for Russia. They once had to land like 19 planes in one day, Aeroflot, because of the safety concerns. Some of them have been just dropping, and people have been dying in Russia. So Russia did address the UN's civil aviation body, the International Civil Aviation Organization, to ease the aviation sanctions. They were pleading with like the moral and safety concerns, and say, listen, this is our civilians. They're gonna die. We're just gonna send them up in the air. We're gonna use them as props to, if you're concerned about the safety of our people, just ease the sanctions, because we're gonna kill them otherwise. They called the sanctions unlawful coercive measures. And an interesting thing, that all of these planes were stolen from a company that was in Ireland at the beginning of the full-scale invasion. Russia, the Irish company said, you have to give the planes back. You're under sanctions. We cannot lease those airplanes to you anymore. And Russia just said, we're going to steal them. And they kept them, and they stopped making lease payments to the Irish company. And they kept $3.5 billion worth of airplanes, which are stolen, which are aging right now, and they cannot fix it. So the thing that it's kind of heartbroken, and that's why I wanted to talk about this right now. So we still have 20 minutes to kind of President Trump lifted the sanctions on Belarus for buying airplane parts yesterday or the day before yesterday. Effectively, so we were this close to.
Well, that lets them get right in then, right?
Exactly. And everybody's saying that. It's a heartbreaking news. We were this close to collapse. It took such a great effort on the parts of every nation in the world. The sanctions, the United Nations, everybody who was involved. Ukraine, by doing their really nice things. Of course, Ukraine would never strike civilian aircraft, right? But they were doing all the other parts that they were supposed to do. And we were so close to collapse another wing of Russia crumbling empire. And basically Trump saved it overnight. And I don't know what to do with this news.
Yeah.
Also, I think Russia wanted to buy Cambodia's planes. Like those would be any better. But yeah, Trump lifting those sanctions is on a Belarusian airline.
Maybe I'm old, But when I think of buying from Cambodia, it's usually stuff that was illegal up until recently in most places.
You don't really think planes and Cambodia, but
No, sorry to anybody. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I'm just saying. You know?
Commander Macmillan, have you been to Cambodia?
Ashore, no. Off the coast, yes.
Gotcha.
I got to wave at a lot of countries from 12 miles out.
Yeah.
I'm sure Cambodia is a great country and it's got great people, and hopefully there are great many of Ukrainian supporters there, and we want to be friends with everybody.
Killing Field? Yeah. That tells you what you need to know about Cambodia.
Yeah. It gets a lot of mention in 60s and 70s rock and roll songs, and you know, it's usually
a day thereof.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a couple of questions that we can jump into. Richard Don Quixote is asking, can Russia afford to open another front?
No.
Against a nation like, say, Luxembourg, if it actually had a common border with them, perhaps.
Yeah.
Not for sure, but perhaps. Andorra, San Marino, Monaco, possibly Malta, but that's a stretch.
Easter Island, if they had anything that could
be way overcommitted at this point.
Yeah. If they had a boat that could make it, maybe Easter Island, but you know.
I think the whole point of the Russian
are pretty imposing, you know.
The whole point of what Russia is doing, they do not want to open another confrontation anywhere. They can't afford it. But the point is here is to stay hybrid and to scare Europe into pretty much electing right wing, which are Russian influenced populists. So that's the whole point of all these operations.
Yeah.
That's what gets me about this whole special military operation. If Putin had just kept going with all his underhanded FSB, you know, propaganda stuff, there's a not unreasonable chance he could have gotten somebody far more pro-Russia elected in Ukraine or other countries that he's interested in. And instead, all he's managed to do is basically get the majority of the world focused against Russia.
Yeah.
You know, and made everybody espionage, disinformation, propaganda efforts that they're engaging in. So even those are now undermined. So, yeah, you know, strategic genius is not high up in the nomenclature one would use to describe Putin at this point.
Yeah, you could speculate that knowing there's a limit to his own mortality, he sped up the plan because he wants to see it happen under his own tenure of leadership, right?
Yeah.
You know, it just...
Well, he said he's going to live 150 years with Kim Jong-un and Xi Jinping.
Here, I'll have to play the bear clip.
Which one? Putin number 1, 2, or 3?
Yeah. Tuesday's Putin is a little fatter. Wednesday's Putin is a little thinner.
You guys know, I always say there is the stupid Putin, the one that always looks up. And Putin number 2, or sorry, Putin number 3 is the super Botox Putin. You can really tell.
Just in my opinion, all of those Putins are number 2.
Well done. I think I don't think there's anything I have to actually address here. So maybe 1, 2 more questions before we're done.
Yeah. So we're a little slow on questions now. They're not rolling in that much. But question from Kristen McCall. Will the EU help ensure election security and integrity for Moldova? Kristen is deeply concerned Russia will try to do more than manipulate.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to be able to do enough, and I don't think they will, sadly.
I think the key is that other nations don't help enforce your election laws. They can send observers, and they can report back to international organizations that, in our opinion, this was not a free and just election because of. But you can't have, French soldiers standing in Germany saying, okay, we're going to monitor this election, we're going to run all the ballot counting, et cetera, because nobody would think that was fair. Nobody would trust the outcome because, every country has its own interests it's pushing. So what you want optimally is a situation where if you're concerned that an election might not be valid, you invite international observers in and you announce beforehand that if the international observers say that this was not a fair and just election, then you'd repeat the process. That's happened in a number of countries.
And Zelensky did raise the alarm at the UN, which would be the perfect organization that, if they would be more useful, that technically could step in and help. And I hope they do something, but think here we need to make as much noise as possible about how Russia does this, how they manipulate everything, to just keep being loud about it. I think that's all what we can do.
I totally forgot that we haven't shouted out something that's super cool here. So our very own Dunk, that's on all the Shills shows except this one. It's just bad timing for him. He's an Emmy award-winning visual effects artist and a very accomplished artist as well. And that's a painting, an actual acrylic or whatever on canvas that he painted of Operator Starsky. And there is a link to the auction for it. You can win this painting, and all the proceeds go to, wherever. I think Starsky is going to decide where they go, a unit or something or whatever. It's, like a proper 10 by 12 inch big full size canvas, and it is some slick talent on display. This is a real lovely piece. So we'll get the link in the live chat to you all here. I will copy it right there and send it over. Oh, wrong place. And send it to you all as well. Head on over and check it out because it just might be something that you want to own. And it's for a great cause, of course.
That brings up
solid
a question
artwork right there.
What is Starsky up to these days? I haven't seen him on any of the shows in quite a while.
He's doing the 24 stuff, as well as he's trying to get things a little bit more consistent back on his channel as well. I think he got himself to the point where he was one step too busy to ever take a breath even. And I know I was encouraging him. Don't burn out. Don't get to the point where it's a chore or an effort. We need happy, good, like Starsky, right? We need,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I think he's been managing and just making sure,
Okay, he's in good health and doing his thing. That's all I need to know. That's good news.
Yeah. He's been invited to join Rick the Ukrainian stream tomorrow, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. or no, 8 p.m. UK. And I'll be there as well. So it'll be a cool show over on Rick's channel tomorrow.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, and we should also do our shout out here. We got our Car for Ukraine fundraiser going on. Let me just refresh the page here, because I do believe, so we're about to hit 400 euros in it. And if I scroll down here, you didn't need to see that fast scrolling, We've got Joe Medley in today with a donation into the fund for 8604. All right. So yeah, we'll get the link in there as well, because this Car for Ukraine fundraiser is for one of the rocket boom boom trucks. So let's make shit go, shall we?
Let's get that car to Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly.
To Russia with love.
Yeah. Well said. Okay. So yeah, we're like, 9 minutes to the top of the hour here. Sounds like a morning news show. But so we should get ourselves into wrap up mode, because I will get in trouble soon if we don't end on time. I do have a time limit. My son get a little bit pissy with me. Slavy, do you want to?
Who is the boss of you?
Oh, my son. Absolutely. Felix runs the show, right?
You're our boss, but you also have a boss, right?
Everybody answers to somebody, right?
Right.
Yeah, Slavy, do you want to take us around then? And yeah.
Absolutely. Just before we get into wrap-ups, Minister for the Recovery of Stolen Toilets is saying, should Russia be kicked out of the UN so we don't have to put up with Lavrov? Yeah. Russia is on the UN Security Council.
Yeah. What?
Ridiculous.
I mean, just saying that sentence is so screwed up.
Yeah. I guess UN should get a bunch of reforms to be actually useful.
Speaking of Lavrov, they did have a delegation on the next day after Zelensky spoke with Trump. They did the damage control, and they sent Lavrov with his whole suite of lackeys they were trying to speak to Trump, but of course they cannot. But they did speak to Rubio. And basically the idea is, because Zelensky spoke to Trump, he said, listen, Russia is crumbling, we're making Russia burn. And they did the damage control because they understand that Trump is an idiot who just repeats the last thing that he heard. And good thing they were not able to have a one-on-one audience with Trump, but they did have an audience with Rubio, which I think it's the best person to hear them out, because Rubio was kind of pro-Ukrainian throughout his what I've heard. So, but they, Russians do understand how it works with Trump, and they are trying to do the damage control that Zelensky has sought.
Rubio, I was watching him in 2014. He was very much not only pro-Ukrainian, he was doing like updates even. Every little update when Maidan happened. What happened was he sold his soul to the devil and ruined his political career, because he's, I think, in this point in this administration, Rubio is the only like politician, and not some kind of business guy or Fox News host or real estate agent. But
cult financier.
He's the only one that actually knows
excuse me.
how to do diplomacy, or used to. But yeah, let's get into our closing thoughts. Johnny, why don't we start with you?
Great to see some changes, some good, some bad, but this is war. It's not a straight road, it's a winding road, and lots of good things are happening, lots of hopeful things, and glory to Ukraine. Let's hope Ukraine wins.
Absolutely. Commander Macmillan, your closing thoughts?
Pretty much a kind of a slow week. I think that the stage is being set, however, for interesting, I use that term guardedly, interesting things to happen next week. So keep your eyes out. Other than that, my usual closing remark of please correspond with your elected officials. Let them know that Ukraine is important to you. Cannot overstate how important doing that is. It has a significant impact
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Never
please.
think it doesn't, because it does. It's just a fact.
Even if your elected official is a dyed-in-the-wool MAGA, corresponding with his office will have an impact.
Absolutely. I was just watching this thing, how it works, and by the end of the week, they tally up how many calls they got for Ukraine, for anti-Ukraine, for whatever the constituents call them in. And it's not about convincing. It's a very easy phone call to make, but you don't have to convince anyone. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call your representatives, Congress, and by the end of the week, if they get 30 anti-Ukrainian calls and only 5 pro-Ukrainian calls,
Yeah.
you see what's happening there? So it really doesn't matter if they're pro-Ukrainian or anti-Ukrainian, call anyway, because numbers is what matters here.
Yeah.
So.
Well said.
Yeah.
Let's I'll jump in here and do a big shout out to the team here on the Shills channel. We got Shayna Caldwell, Mexi Girl, Liam Wakefield, Chris Lundy, and Super Chat Matt. And as you see, while we're doing the show, you know, they're moderating, they're gathering the questions for us, they're organizing Super Chat shout outs and all kinds of stuff in the background. Got to have a good team, people. Thanks to ours, we do. You know, big shout out to everybody donating, joining in, supporting and whatnot. We've got 9 lives as the current bid leader on the Starsky portrait, the painting there. We'll get the link in the description for you again. And our Car for Ukraine fundraiser is slowly but surely coming along. We'll get the link for you in there as well, because even the smallest donation, a whole whack of tiny ones, amount to a truck that can make shit go boom. So yeah, Slavi, what do you think? Take us out on this lovely Saturday.
All right. Well, this week showed Ukraine isn't just holding the line, it's dismantling Russia's war machine piece by piece, even as Moscow keeps testing NATO's red lines with drones, jets, and different kinds of hybrid attacks. This week, Trump's pivot, Zelensky's fire speech at the UN, NATO's warnings, they've opened a window history rarely gives us. But every provocation from Russia narrows that window, and the real question is whether the free world acts before Moscow slams it shut. If you want to go deeper, check out this week's video on channel Yarchenko about Russia crossing NATO's red lines. It's pinned at the top of the chat. And if you've already seen it and liked it, watch it again. And yeah, stay tuned for a brand new reaction video. It's coming tomorrow. And I'm covering Zelensky's full UN speech, Trump's pivot, and Zelensky's Fox interview as well, all in full length. And as always, thank you to the panel, our incredible mods on all the channels, and the crew working behind the scenes, and every single one of you that are watching as well. Your support, whether through likes, shares, subscriptions, super chats, or just showing up week after week, keeps our channels alive and keeps the truth louder than Russia's lies. If you're watching us for the first time, we hope you enjoyed the show. Subscribe to all the channels we're streaming on and join this incredible community. It really does go a long way when you subscribe. Ukraine's fight is bigger than borders. It's about the future of freedom everywhere. Support Ukraine in any way you can. Donate, share their stories, keep their fight in the spotlight. Every action counts. So on that note, be fierce, be brave like Ukraine, and God bless America, and Slava Ukraini.
Heroin Slava.
It's over. Go home. Go.